Villager accused of attacking a construction worker at the site of a new home. The village's fire chief will be honored at retirement. The villages announces a new hike in amenity fees as of January 1st. Another hole-in-one. A glass sliding door was shattered by a burglar for an out-of-town villager. A hit-and-run suspect was apprehended in the villages. Blue Oyster Cult to perform live at the Sharon. The village's Magic Club to showcase at the Azale Rec Center. Kayaking classes to be offered at the Okahumpka Recreation Center. How about a New Year's resolution to end bad parking in the villages? This and more coming up. Villagers or guests and snowbirds need to know the Florida laws regarding the use of golf cart both on the street and on the multimodal paths in the villages. Golf cart drunk drivers arrests are at an all-time high in the villages. Some visitors from the north have been shocked to find out that the DUI laws in Florida apply to all motor vehicles, including golf carts operated on the multimodal paths in the villages. If the cart driver is impaired while operating a golf cart thanks to alcohol or drugs, the driver is subject to arrest. The statute presumes that a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater means the driver can be charged with driving under the influence. Not necessarily. If you're 0.08 or more, you can be charged with a DWI, that's driving while intoxicated. A DUI can actually be charged to a person, and you've seen it here on my news reports, that's less than a 0.08. It was just last week on the news I showed you. 0.05, a guy was charged with a DUI. A conviction of driving under the influence may result in a license being suspended or even revoked. Many non-residents have been surprised that a conviction in Florida may cause a revocation of driving privileges in their home state. A DUI charge for a first or second offense may be charged as a misdemeanor. A third or subsequent DUI offense within 10 years or a DUI which results in death or injury to another person will be charged as a felony. Another issue which arises in the villages occurs when a grandchild is allowed to drive a golf cart. Florida law allows the use of a cart by anyone 14 years of age as long as they do not go on public streets. This is true. That's where if you golf cart are on a road where you're sharing a cart path with a car, a child cannot be there. They can operate the cart on a multimodal path. However, an adult who has had his or her driver's license suspended or revoked cannot legally operate a golf cart. This is true. A street legal golf cart may be operated on public streets as long as the driver has a valid driver's license and follows all traffic laws. Street legal golf carts must be registered, titled, and insured with personal injury protection insurance as well as property damage liability insurance. That's not all. Non-street legal carts are not required to carry insurance, which could lead to substantial legal liability for a cart driver or owner in case of an accident. That is true. Also, to be street legal, you're required everything in that golf cart that a car is required. As they've mentioned, license plates, registration, insurance. I'm not sure you have to have full coverage like that, but you do need to have insurance. Check with their insurance agent. They'll let you know. But you also have to have seat belts. As part of a car, you must have them, and they must be operational. You must have windshield wiper. There are certain things to be street legal that you are required to have just like a car. So check all that out before you decide to get a street legal. My personal opinion is, I don't know why anybody would have a street legal golf cart here to start with. You can only get on roads that are, I believe, check on this, 45 miles an hour or less. It might be 35 miles an hour or less. You're not allowed to be on or cross any street that's over those speed limits.
In the case of nuclear or radiological fallout, people living around potential targets such as military bases and chemical plants may be advised to evacuate. Protection from radioactive fallout will require taking shelter in an underground area.
A man who is charged with holding a woman at knife point in the villages is now accused of repeatedly phoning her from jail. Jesse Charles Webb, 33, was arrested for trapping the woman in a shed for several hours on New Year's Day, 2022, on the historic side of the villages. You notice it says shed. I keep interrupting because I'm trying to point things out to people that don't live here. Most places in the villages, our district rules say we're not allowed to have backyard yard sheds or anything like that. In the older area up there, those district rules are different. They're more relaxed up there for a lot of things. Like they can park a camper in their driveway full time in a big area up there. We're not allowed to do that here. So check your district rules in different areas before you buy, because these things could be a big difference for you. She eventually broke free and ran to a gas station pleading for help. Officers arrested Webb in the carport of the St. Andrews Boulevard home where he was living. He had a bloody knife attached to his belt. He was later released from jail on his own recognizance. After his release in that case, Webb stole an emergency vehicle from the village's public safety department and ditched it at the property of the village's cell center at Lake Sumter Landing. He has been held in Sumter County Detention Center since March 9 arrest in that incident. An investigation has revealed that Webb made 177 phone calls from jail to the woman he held a knife on 1 year ago. The calls were placed between June 26 and October 27. When he was released on bond in that case, the judge told Webb he was not to have any contact with the woman he terrorized. Webb is now facing an additional charge of violating the court order. Webb was also arrested in 2019 after stealing a Community Watch vehicle. A villager is accused of attacking a construction worker at a site of new homes in Leesburg. What the heck is he attaching that? He don't even live there. Well, whatever. Michael Patrick Gilbrook, 62, of the village of La Zamora. That's a village that Sue and I almost bought into years and years ago. It's kind of a rolling neighborhood. It's a lot of ups and down hills in it. It's not all flat ground. It's an older village. The homes don't look too much different than they do anywhere else. The reason why I did not buy there was because of all of the Spanish oak trees in the yards. I don't want any of that in my yard, and so we said no. An affidavit of probable cause from the Leesburg Police Department indicates that the Philadelphia native on December 7th went to the construction site where the villages is building thousands of new homes, and they are. He went to a home under construction at 6670 Mary Loop, where he struck a man in the face and left with the man's drywall tools. Well, there's got to be more to this story. The construction worker called police and reported what had happened. He said he knew the man as Mike and indicated they both were acquainted with a woman. Well, there we go again. You women out there. The construction worker said the woman had given him the drywall tools, so she gave away her ex-boyfriend's tools. He describes her as Gilbrook's ex-girlfriend. A detective gathered information after Gilbrook, who has a criminal history in New Jersey and Florida. Photographic lineup was developed, and the construction worker picked out Gilbrook as the man who had attacked him and taken the drywall tools. Gilbrook was taken into custody Thursday and booked at the Lake County Jail. He was released after posting a $10,000 bond. A village's fire chief will be honored this week at a retirement celebration. Edmund Kane, who has served 8 years as the chief of the village's public safety department, will be saluted in an event set for 2 to 4 p.m. Friday, January 6th at Colony College Rec Center. Kane is stepping down January 23 after 2 decades with the village's public safety department. He started his career in public safety in 1976 when he was still in high school. He is turning 65 this month. Thank you for your service, Mr. Kane. The village's residents appreciate you. The villages announced a cost of living hike for amenity fees as of January 1. This is not new, so don't say, why are they doing that? This is like every year in January, it's a cost of living increase almost everything. The adjustment based on the Consumer Price Index impacts the contractual amenity fee for all previously owned homes closed on or after January 1, 2023, and all new homes contracted in the villages on or after January 1, 2023. You understand what I just read there? You purchase a home on January 1st, I don't care if it's new or pre-owned, you're subject to the new rate. The rest of us are kind of grandfathered in, but we'll have a gradual increase over time that'll get us there. The monthly amenity fee for such homes is also known as a prevailing rate. The previous prevailing rate was $179 and is now, as of January 1, $189, according to the letter from the village's Vice President of Development, Robert Chandler IV, and addressed the district manager, Kenny Blocker. You can read the letter at this link, Contractual Amenity Fee Adjustment Letter 2023. In 2019, the Amenity Authority Committee, which oversees amenities north of County Road 466, and the Project-Wide Advisory Committee, which oversees amenities south of County Road 466, both voted to remove the cap on amenity fees. The cap had previously been set at $155 per month. Recently, the AAC has considered a one-year freeze on amenity fee rates and has expressed hope that PWAC might join in the idea. Listen, it's all political rhetoric. You might have some people over here really wanting to do what they consider to be the right thing, and then you have the people over here that says, we're not so sure about that. It's a political mess. I said it. You heard it here first. An 81-year-old villager has entered a plea in an alleged hair pulling attack on his wife of 61 years. I'm always a loss for words at this. William Jersh has entered a plea of not guilty in an altercation with his wife this past Monday at their home in the village of Tall Trees. He told police that his 79-year-old wife had been drinking wine and began calling him names. Mary Jersh recently completed impulse control and anger management classes after an attack on her husband earlier this year. Well, sounds like he's got some evidence on his side. In Monday's incident, Mary Jersh fled the home and went to the neighbor's house. The neighbor called 911. Mary Jersh told Sumter County Sheriff's deputies that her husband, with whom she shares 3 children, had gotten angry when she drank a glass of wine. She said he struck her with an open hand on the right side of her face. He also pulled her hair. The arrest report noted that she had multiple pieces of loose hair along her right shoulder. Well, I'm not sure that's real evidence or not, but hey, I'm not a cop. I wasn't there. William Jersh was arrested on charge of battery and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $500 bond. A criminal indigent form he completed indicates that the native New Yorker collects $2,000 a month in Social Security benefits and $5,400 per month in pension income. Ooh, that's pretty good. The couple owns a 2020 Subaru Forester and a 2002 Thunderbird convertible. In a 2011 arrest, William Jersh called 911 after his wife hit him in the face several times. He told deputies that she had consumed 2.5 alcoholic drinks and he had cut her off, which apparently angered her. At the time of her arrest, her husband said he did not want to see her prosecuted. The case was later dropped by the prosecutor's office. Alcohol problems around here. Quite a few of them, really. I'm not saying it's overrunning everything, but you hear my news on Friday. It's quite a few. A glass sliding door was shattered by a burglar at a home of the villager who was out of town. Tony Bafulco, who lives on Five Forks Trail in the village of Tall Trees, said his neighbor had been picking up his newspaper while he was out of town. The neighbor walked around the rear of the home and discovered the damage to the rear sliding door. The house had been ransacked, and that's all there is to that. These things do happen. Whether you have a home watch service or not, nobody can watch your home 24/7. Nobody. A hit-and-run suspect was apprehended in the villages after fleeing the scene of a crash that claimed the life of a motorcyclist. Being ex-motorcyclists, me and Sue, we really enjoyed riding our bikes. We enjoyed the motorcycle clubs that we attended. We enjoyed the motorcycle rallies. We went to Honda Hoot in Knoxville. We've been to Wingdings in different areas of the United States. We came all the way to Florida and went to Daytona, which is open to all bikers. We've really met a lot of super people in the motorcycle clubs. We enjoyed every one of them. We really miss it. We both of us really do. We miss riding the bike. We miss doing those things. Coming down here, I decided I wasn't going to replace my motorcycle, which I really intended to do because I know they got a Goldwing club here, and that's what I had several Goldwings. And I really enjoyed the bikes. But watching how people drive around here in the wintertime and us getting older, I decided I'm not going to do that. And then here's another story. I've been reading these stories almost like every week of somebody hitting a motorcyclist. But, it's just all the time. And so as much as we missed riding the bikes, I'm not going to do it here. A hit-and-run suspect was apprehended in the villages after fleeing the scene of a crash that claimed the life of motorcyclists. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies arrested 59-year-old Lloyd Douglas Walters of Leesburg Friday night as he was driving a Jeep Cherokee on State Road 44 and Morris Boulevard. That's here in the villages. So see, that's what I keep saying. Just because you're inside the bubble here the bubble doesn't necessarily mean that the people riding next to you, the people sitting next to you, anywhere is from here. Here's a good example of that. I'm not saying because of Leesburg. I'm not blaming Leesburg, but I'm just saying here's a guy on a motorcycle riding here in the villages. Somebody from outside the villages cutting through the villages hit and killed him. You can take what you want out of that. He had been westbound on State Road 44 at 7:25 p.m. when he changed lanes and collided with a Suzuki motorcycle ridden by a 51-year-old Kissimmee man, according to report from the Florida Highway Patrol. The motorcyclist, who had also been westbound on State Road 44, was ejected from the motorcycle as it overturned. He was transported to an area hospital where he died from injuries suffered in that crash. Walters fled the scene. An investigation into the accident shut down westbound traffic on State Road 44 near Lake Okahumpka Park. He is facing charges of leaving the scene of a crash involving a death, driving under the influence, manslaughter, and no valid driver's license. He was booked at Sumter County Detention Center on a $750,000 bond. Good Lord, man. Throw away the key. On to a lighter side. Blue Oyster Cult is set to perform at the Sharon L. Morris Performing Arts Center in the Villages. The band will take the stage at 7 p.m. Tuesday, January 10th. Tickets can be purchased for the show at getoffthebusconcerts.com or thesharon.com, or you can call 352-753-3229. By the time you hear this, it's probably going to be done and over. But that's stuff that you need to know. You need to write those contact information down, because if you're interested in any show here, that's where you got to go. For 5 decades, Blue Oyster Cult has been thrilling fans and intelligent hard rock worldwide with powerful albums loaded with classic songs. Indeed, the Long Island, New York-based band is revered within the hard rock and heavy metal scene for its pioneering work. Blue Oyster Cult occupies a unique place in rock history because it's one of the very few hard rock heavy metal bands to earn both genuine mainstream critical acclaim as well as commercial success. Notice as time goes by, when I first came here, the 50s bands were big and they were everywhere. You still got a few today, Rocky and Rollers is one, but they're gradually going away. I remember when I came here, it wasn't Sharon Morris Theater at the time. It was the Church on the Square. They had Chubby Checkers, and now they're talking about Blue Oyster Cult. As the generations move into the villages, the older things are moving out. And it's hard to watch that, but I guess it's just normal. The Villages Magic Club will be presenting its second annual Magic Showcase on Friday, January 27th. It will be held at the Azale Recreation Center on Megason Road in Sawgrass Grove in the southern section of the village. It will open at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There is no admission charge. Villagers and guests with a guest ID are welcome to attend. This guest ID that people like to just kind of ignore is you have to have it. The showcase is not a stage show. Rather, it is an expo at which almost 20 members of the Magic Club will be simultaneously demonstrating their magic skills at tables around the room. Approximately 350 villagers and their guests enjoyed last year's Magic Showcase. Many of last year's performers will be back along with some new participants. I used to do amateur magic years ago when I was a kid. And I did it for children, really. Halloween, they'd come to the door and I would do something, stuff like that. I always got a kick out of it. Till this day, I can do simple things like make a quarter come out of their ear. I know it's corny, but I can do that. Pick a card, then I get it out of the deck for you. I can do that. There's simple things that I can do, and I like to do it for kids, but there's really no good place here to do that, for me anyway, because it's just getting harder as time goes by. A resident of Haciendaville has recently recorded his very first hole-in-one on hole number 2 at El Diablo Executive Golf Course. Steve Kangas, K-A-N-G-A-S, Steve Kangas, used a 9-iron on a 106-yard hole. Congratulations, Steve. Beer's on you. those of you that don't understand that, if you're not a golfer, that's an old tradition. I can remember that when I played with my dad when I was 12, that if anybody got a hole in one, everybody went to the country club or went to the local bar or whatever the case was, and the hole in one person that got the hole in one, you would think it'd be the other way around, but it's not. That person bought a round for whoever he played with. If there was four of them, then he bought rounds for his teammates. It's just tradition. That's all. It's fun. Kayaking classes will be offered at the new Lake Opahumka Recreation Center. Open kayaking will be offered at 8 and 9 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday, and an introduction kayaking class will be offered on Wednesdays and Fridays. Classes will begin January 10th. Classes are free, but registration is required and can be handled at any of the regional recreation centers. Have fun. I used to kayak many years ago. Depending on what kind of kayak, I'm sure they're going to use the wide kayaks so they won't tip over as easy, but it's fun. Let's have some more Villages news. The driver of a Mercedes who failed to pay child support was arrested at Brownwood. Kevin Stanley Zach, 49 of Wildwood, was at the wheel of a black Mercedes on Monday when he was pulled over for an expired license plate on State Road 44 at Brownwood Boulevard, according to the arrest report from Sumter County Sheriff's Office. During the traffic stop, the deputy discovered the expired license plate displayed on the Mercedes had been issued to a white GMC. Zach claimed he had recently purchased a Mercedes and put his old plate on it. A check of the Royal Oak, Michigan native driver's license revealed that it has been suspended in July for failure to pay child support. The deputy also found that Jack has had previous convictions for driving while license suspended. He was arrested on charges of driving while license suspended and failure to register a motor vehicle. He was booked on a $1,000 bond at the Sumter County Detention Center. How about impounding his car and hanging on to it till he pays his child support? How about that? Or to be auctioned off. How about that? I don't know. I'm just being grumpy. A convicted golf cart thief was arrested at a housing construction site. Joseph Anthony Garita Jr., 41 of Wildwood, was arrested at 4 a.m. Monday when he was found at a construction site, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. A canine was used to find Garita, who was attempting to hide from law enforcement. Garita had no reasonable explanation as to why he was within a clearly posted and fenced construction site. He was also found to be in possession of drugs, for which he could not provide a prescription. He was arrested on trespassing and drug possession and booked on $2,000 bond at the Sumter County Detention Center. A villager was arrested for another unwanted return to a restaurant at Lake Sumter Landing. Eric Wayne Singleton, 57, who lives on the historic side of the Villages, showed up at about 5 p.m. Monday at R.J. Gators despite a ban previously placed on him, barring him from the restaurant. Sumter County Sheriff's deputies arrived on the scene and confirmed that Singleton, who had been arrested in 2021 at the restaurant, was not allowed to be there. As a result of Singleton's arrest Monday on a charge of trespassing, he was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $1,000 bond. A convicted golf cart thief was arrested at a housing construction site. Joseph Anthony Garita Jr., 41 of Wildwood, was arrested at about 4 a.m. Monday when he was found at a construction site, according to the arrest report. A canine was used to find Garita, who was attempting to hide from law enforcement. Garita had no reasonable explanation as to why he was within a clearly posted and fenced construction site. He was also found to be in possession of drugs, for which he could not provide a prescription. He was arrested on charges of trespassing and drug possession and booked at $2,000 bond at the Sumter County Detention Center. Garita was released from state prison in 2019 after serving a 2-year sentence in connection with theft of a golf cart from Villages Golf Cars at Lake Sumter Landing. He had previously been placed on probation for stealing from his employer, Galaxy Home Solutions. What a winner. A Lady Lake homeowner fatally shot an intruder during an apparent break-in. Lake County Sheriff's deputies received a call at about 5:30 p.m. Monday about the shooting at a home on Lakeview Street, which is located off Rolling Acres Road, not far from the Rolling Acres apartments. The intruder, 34-year-old Ryan Michael Balazar, was pronounced dead at the scene. Balazar forcefully entered the home through a window and was confronted by the homeowner and shot, according to the arrest report, which has declared this a case of self-defense. The homeowner is cooperating with the detectives. We have a standalone law here. Somebody comes in your house, you have the right to shoot him dead. A villager who admitted she had been sipping champagne will escape prosecution in a case which she had been arrested on a charge of driving under the influence. Elena Dubawala, 64, of the village of Osceola Hills, was driving a white Acura SUV at 9:43 p.m. August the 30th in an area of County Road 466 and Rolling Acres Road when she was caught on radar traveling 60 miles per hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. She turned onto Rolling Acres Road and nearly hit numerous mailboxes. During a traffic stop, officers noticed that Dubawala's eyes were glassy and her pupils were dilated. She performed poorly in field exercises and provided 2 breath samples that both registered .027 blood alcohol content. A native of Russia also provided a urine sample. They're looking for something else. However, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement did not return the lab results from the urine test, and the prosecutor's office has announced that without the lab results, it cannot move forward with the case. Without the lab results, the case against Dubawala is legally insufficient. There you go. .02 on the Richter scale of alcohol is legal, but they were looking for something else. That's what the urine thing was about. A suspect has been arrested in a theft of a former neighbor's golf cart. The owner of a 2008 Yamaha golf cart reported on the New Year's Eve that had been snatched from his home on Ivanhoe Circle, according to the arrest report from Lady Lake Police Department. A witness reported seeing 64-year-old Alan Bardette Russell, a former resident of the Ivanhoe Circle, now listed as homeless, take the golf cart from the carport of a residence from which he has been banned. An officer spotted Russell walking in the area of Ivanhoe Circle and ordered him to stop. Russell did not stop until the officer stood directly in his path. Russell was arrested on charges of grand theft, trespassing, and burglary. He was booked at the Lake County Jail on a $9,500 bond. Well, at least he's going to get 3 squares a day. A man from Honduras was arrested after a disturbance at a Publix grocery store in the Villages. Christian Alejandro Escada Lopez, 25, of Summerfield, claimed 5 people armed with guns had been chasing him and tried to throw him in a lake, according to the arrest report from Lady Lake Police Department. He went to the Publix La Plaza Grande, that's by Spanish Springs, on Tuesday afternoon, where he began to cause a disturbance. Store personnel asked him to leave, but he refused. Escada Lopez, who only speaks Spanish, spoke to police via a Publix employee who served as a translator. Police explained multiple times that he had been asked to leave the store. He refused to do so. He was taken into custody on charges of trespassing and booked at the Lake County Jail. Bond was set at $1,000. An 85-year-old villager was arrested after law enforcement was called to the Tanglewood Villas in the village of Sable Chase. A woman called 911 to report an altercation that had taken place Tuesday night at the home of Charles Edward Riggs, according to a arrest report. When deputies spoke to Riggs, it was apparent he had been drinking. He admitted he had consumed 3 beers. Riggs also said that there was a little bit of shoving going on, but nothing more. The woman who reported the incident said she'd left the home and did not want any further conflict because she was already on probation. She said Riggs had been bothering her and threatened to call her probation officer. She said he hit her on the left cheek, tried to grab her arm, and pushed her. Deputies observed bruising on the woman's cheekbone. Riggs was arrested on a charge of battery and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center, where he was initially held without bond. Parents and students were startled by a man hiding in the bushes at the Villages Elementary of Lady Lake. Look at this guy. I keep telling people, you see people with face tattoos and stuff like that. They're painting a picture for you. Stay away. There's something mentally wrong with people that does this. Our officers responded to a school at 8 a.m. Tuesday to investigate a report of a suspicious person. They found 41-year-old Ian Yuri Riekman walking near the school. An officer asked Riekman if he had been hiding in the bushes, and he admitted he had, claiming he sought refuge there after arguing with his wife, according to the arrest report. Riekman, who has a long history of arrest, was found to be in possession of 2.1 grams of methamphetamine and a glass pipe. He admitted he had a drug use and claimed he wants to seek help through the court system. He was arrested on charges of drug possession and possession of drug paraphernalia. He was booked at the Lake County Jail on a $5,000 bond.
In the case of nuclear or radiological fallout, People living around potential targets such as military bases and chemical plants may be advised to evacuate. Protection from radioactive fallout will require taking shelter in an underground area.
A 91-year-old villager awaiting transfer to state prison is seeking a furlough from jail. Marilyn Hamilton of the village of Gilchrist was sentenced last month to 5 years in prison after she pleaded guilty to hitting two bicyclists with her Mercedes and fleeing the scene. Hamilton has been held since December 20th at the Sumter County Detention Center. On the day of sentencing, she was immediately taken from the courtroom to jail. Hamilton's attorney on Tuesday filed a motion for a limited furlough that would provide for a release of his client. I don't want to read this whole thing. She's here alone. She has no family here. Her daughter lives in California, and she wants to have a little bit of time to get her affairs in order with her daughter. It's understandable, but whether they'll do it, I don't know. We'll see. Let's do a couple letters to the editor. To the editor, because it is allowed to have small children and people much younger, there are more crime issues. The developer seems to only care about money, not quality of life for the residents. The fees keep going up without the quality that once was here. That's sent in by Gloria Smith, village of Silver Lake. Gloria, I do agree with what you're saying, but here's the thing. The new people moving in has no idea what it was like 20, 25 years ago here, how things was done. And there's an old saying, you don't miss what you never had. And so they're never going to know. They're never going to probably agree with anything that people like me and you say because they've never seen it. They've never experienced it. And it's a shame, I know. I report things. I don't know how far it actually goes as far as somebody actually hearing what I'm saying. But I know that you know, I know. We just have to deal with it. I don't understand why villagers complain about the noise from the Florida Turnpike. When you bought the house, how could you ignore the noise in the first place? If the noise was that bad, maybe you should have bought farther away from the turnpike. Just my thoughts. Next, you will want a tunnel going through your so-called exclusive villages. Time out. Nobody ever said this place was exclusive. I don't know why you say that. That's kind of insulting, the way you're putting that. But that's not true. We have Interstate 75 in Ocala here, and we don't complain despite all the noise and tractors and trailers from the warehouse. It creates jobs, is good for our economy. That's sent in by John McKeon from Ocala. Well, one major issue here, John, is what you're saying. The Villages is a retirement community. Ocala is not. Enough said. To the editor. Well, just like the outsiders get upset of being judged where they live, I too am upset about being judged because I live in the Villages. Don't assume everyone is snobby or feel like they are privileged. There are more of us hardworking people that bought here. I'm one of them. I chose to be in a nice area and bought my home for $350,000. If you want to live in a nice area anywhere in Florida, that's what you're going to have to pay. My husband and I have worked hard all of our lives. We didn't inherit money. So just because we don't like being judged, don't judge everyone who lives in the Villages. We don't judge where people live and talk to everyone. That's sent in by Diane Gizzy from the village of Monarch Grove. I'm with you, Diane. We don't have the money that a lot of people have. We grew up knowing we wanted to work for what we had. What I really take offense to is the give me something for nothing generation. And when it's time for the kid to go leave the nest and go make a living, guess what? They're lost. They don't know how. Nobody ever taught them how to balance a checkbook. Well, I think that might be the news for this week. And with that being said, a few minutes after the news, we're going to do Skip the News. If you haven't been to Skip the News, come to the news. If any of this brought questions to your mind, or if you like to make comments about anything that I read on the news, good comments, bad comments, whatever, come to Skip the News. It'll be right after the news. I'll see you in a little bit. You watch this bad parking and see if you can figure out what's wrong.
Golf Cart.